Happy birthday, US of A. That's right, today is the 4th of July, and this is episode 40 of Brody's Garage. Okay, so quick update. I am here alone at the house, actually, for the first time ever. My better half and daughter are in New York right now celebrating with her family. I'm going to be flying out there in a week to join them. So I have this opportunity to spend about a week by myself here and try to get some things done. Now, I had a little bit of setback though. I was hoping to be productive right away. Well, I've been recuperating for almost a week now. I did a show with my former bandmates in Yellow Brick Road here in Las Vegas last Saturday, so a week ago from yesterday. And a couple days after that, I started getting some symptoms. Turns out I picked up COVID. So I tested positive for the first time in the entire duration of the COVIDity. I finally got it. First, it was just kind of a weird throat thing. And next thing you know, it was heat exhaustion and fever and just severe headaches going down the back of my neck. I ended up staying in bed for almost 2 days. I couldn't really do much of anything else. I was so exhausted and worn out. Turns out the COVID thing was the least of my concerns, because after I kind of climbed out of bed, I had just these terrible lower back pains. I mean, I used to have severe back pains back in 2014-15. I had surgery on my lower back, and this was like going back in time to that period. It was so painful. I could barely get around. Luckily, I did some stretches that I found online and got in the pool and did some sort of water therapy, and I'm doing much better now. But so I'm just now kind of picking up the slack and getting started on the car, and it's been mostly wiring stuff. And let me dive in and show you what I got going on. All right, so here we go. The nightmare is upon me here. And what I've done thus far with the wiring is mostly kind of sorted out into different groups and labeled them, which each section goes to. I had to kind of pull a lot of this apart because I had to pass it through the firewall. So I've sort of reloomed it, reseparated it, relabeled it, put some things where they need to go, and I'll show you kind of what I have going on. I mounted the digital guard dog iKey system here. This is the remote keyless entry thing for RFID key fob, and as you can see, there's a ton of wiring that goes to it. All kinds of sensors and connections, power in and out. This also will work the power door locks and windows. It'll start the car remotely, so it's got to tie into a number of systems. But I made that little bracket there today with a little piece of scrap sheet metal I had laying around. Because the tunnel is round, and as you can see, the mounting points are flat, so I had to come up with a way to get that to mount flat. So that's what I did there. Just north of that, you can see a couple of relays for the cooling fans. That was a pre-wired kit, and that's sort of where the relays ended up living, and so I just screwed them into the sheet metal there. That's pretty much done, by the way, except for the trigger wires, which are coming from the Holly wiring harness. I'll show you that side in just a minute. On this side, we have the wires coming from the fuse box. We've also got, I don't know if you can see up in there, but today I ran another, this is a 4-gauge wire here, this red wire, and I just ran that and tied it to that little junction box right there, or junction block, and that'll be a 12-volt battery direct power source for multiple things, like the like the digital guard dog, for example. So that's what I did there. That wire comes up through the kick panel and down here and runs, well, it runs inside the rocker channel there, alongside of some other wiring. Goes back over there to the battery, which is not terminated yet, it's just laying here. By the way, some really nice stuff here. I'll get you the brand name of it, but it's really good stuff. Nice, very soft, pliable insulation there. Okay, so on the passenger side, behind the glove box, we have the command center for all things modules and control units. We have the Holley Terminator X Max ECU back there to control all of the engine parameters. Here we have the interface that takes the information from Holley and sends it over to the Dakota digital gauges so that they don't have to have their own, coolant temp sensors and all that stuff. It all comes into here and then just carries that information over to the gauges. And so what I did is I mounted this using a screw which attaches to a bracket which I made to support the front end of my vintage AC unit. So on this side it attaches there, and you can't see it anymore because this is in front of it, but there's another bolt that I tack welded to the inside of the cowl, and that's supporting the upper side of this. These guys are Velcroed on there in place and they're very secure, so I'm not worried about that. Still kind of tucking the wiring out of the way as needed. This is going to be a little tight here. I did check it last night. I attached the duct that goes onto this vent here, and it does just clear. I'm going to have to pull these wiring looms up and out of the way to make it clear. What else is going on over here? These wires here need to be connected. They are for the cooling fan controls. We got an IAC kick input. We've got fans 1 and 2, and some other unassigned in and outputs right there for the Holley Terminator system. This here is the CAN bus connection for the laptop. Let's see. I'm going to have to come up with a neutral safety. There's already a switch here in the shifter, so I just have to wire that. I need to get a stoplight switch, which would go up there in the brake pedal. I've got to wire in the turn signal and steering column section. The push button start switch has a terminal which already connects right to this module, so that's easy. But then all the wiring in and out from there to the starter and so forth. I pre-ran the wires for the headlights, parking lights on both sides, so those are just waiting for their final install. And of course that's all going to get protective wire loom and all that stuff, and I'm going to come up with some sort of a better way. This is just temporary right now to tie it up out of the way, but I'm going to build probably some sort of an aluminum channel to hide all this wiring up on the back side of this panel once everything is done. By the way, the Digital Guard Dog IT system also has an optional GPS module, so I can always track the location of the car in case it does happen to get stolen. Also, yesterday I put the first 5 gallons of gas in this car. It cost me about $900. No, I'm just kidding. But I actually put 5 gallons of gas through my little, that's right, PVC filler neck, and filled up the tank with 5 gallons of 91 octane fuel. And then what I did is I rigged up a couple of jumper wires here from the battery over to the fuel pump posts right there. And I started circulating fuel through the lines, and what happened? Within 0.012 seconds, I sprayed gas all over the floor there because I had forgotten to tighten up 2 of the hoses that connect to the fuel filter in line there. So that took a minute to clean up, tighten up the hoses, and you know what? From that point, it's been leak proof. I've circulated fuel all the way up to the fuel pressure regulator, back through the bypass, and you can hear it coming back to the tank. And so it was making a constant loop with no problem. I did install a vent port here, which initially I stupidly thought this was the vent port. No, this is a pressure port here. I don't know what it's there for, if it's there for a gauge or what, but anyway, that little pipe plug there needs to stay in. The vent port is actually back there, I found out. And it takes a 1/4 inch pipe thread plug, so I had to go buy a reducer back down to 1/8 inch, and I'm using the same push connect hose that I'm using for my turbo boost system up there. I did wire in the 2 grounds for the 2 fuel pumps, and they are tied to, excuse me, they are tied to the chassis right. Can you see up there? That's right there. There's my ground wires connecting to that cross member right there. And then I started wiring up this relay panel here, which is a nice little kit I found on Amazon. It holds 6 relays, I guess up to 30 amps each. And the problem was when I started doing up this wiring here, I went down to Home Depot and bought some 10 gauge wire, and this is, like, I don't know, commercial grade wire. So it's got the super stiff jacketing on it, and it just will not bend easily. So some of these I have to make a very tight loop to get from the fuse side over to the relay hot side, and it just won't make these bends. So I'm scrapping this. I actually cracked the plastic in here somewhere on my first attempt, and also my first attempt at soldering was really lousy, and then I realized what I was doing wrong. So suffice it to say, I ordered another replacement panel. I got some new wiring, which is the soft silicone jacket stuff, and I'm gonna wire up this thing here with the 6 relays and 6 fuses. And so this will power my 2 fuel pumps, 1 and 2, and then I've got a third one here for the ice water tank in the trunk. 4, 5, and 6, I don't know what I'm gonna use them for, but I'm sure I'll end up using them for something. So that's what's going on with the wiring stuff. All right, well, I think I can cross the power steering system kind of off my list, at least mostly. As you can see down there on the steering rack, I've got my pressure and return hoses connected. And if you come on up here to the pump, you'll see the pressure line, which is the steel braided silvery colored one. And then this big dash 10 hose here is the drain line from the reservoir up here. And the other line, I finally got this other radium banjo fitting here, which is the return to the reservoir. So again, fluid here goes down to the pump through the black line there. Pump spins and provides pressure to the rack down there. And then the bypass of that, or return pressure, comes back up to the reservoir. So, hey, that's my understanding of it anyway. Who knows? But I think I got it right. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. It is the 4th of July. My day is done. I have fired up the jacuzzi, and I'm going to make myself a meal here in Brody's kitchen. Maybe a future series coming from me. But I'm gonna get something to eat, have a little jacuzzi time, relax for the rest of the evening. Happy 4th of July to all of you out there, and also a special shout out to all who have served. And I just want to thank you all for watching and following along, and I will catch you in a few days. Take care.